The federal government today won crucial parliamentary support from the crossbench for the legislation for its energy price plan after making some concessions to the Greens on future household support. The legislation puts a price cap on gas and paves the way for government assistance to low-income households. But while it may have the numbers in Parliament, the government continues to face opposition from the resources sector. The Chief Executive of the Queensland Resources Council, Macfarlane, joins me now from Brisbane. Welcome back to the program, Mr Macfarlane.
Good to be back, Laura, thanks.
Could we deal with some of the issues in the energy market one by one, because it's complex for those outside the sector? Looking at gas first, the federal government's proposing a $12 price cap for 12 months for uncontracted gas. How much gas would actually be affected by this cap, given most gas is contracted?
Well, about 15% of the gas sold in the East Coast market is on the spot price. And that spot price at the moment is about $13. So in terms of the impact that it may or may not have on electricity prices, it's very hard to see how this is going to work.
But it's also not going to have all that much effect on the profits or revenue of the sector, is it?
It's more the signal that it sends investors, Laura, that this government and governments in Australia are prepared to interfere in a market which is supposed to be a commercial market, which operates in a commercial way and is based on the risk and reward system that we all know so well. So if you look at the impact of this, you've seen it in the various companies' statements, be they Australian-based companies like Santos, or be they international companies like Shell or Chevron, be they companies like Woodside, which again is an Australian company. The shock to the investment system and the uncertainty about what return you'll get for the risk you take. And remember, these projects cost billions and billions and billions of dollars. And there are plenty of alternatives around the world.
But isn't the real concern here not so much the 12-month cap, but the longer-term proposal for what the government's called the reasonable price to be set in a mandatory code of conduct? I mean, it's been very clear for some months that the government was going to have to do something about energy prices, but is it more that concern about that longer-term control over the market?
Well, absolutely, Laura, and the reality is that having a government setting a gas price when there is so many variables in the industry, whether it's coal seam gas, whether it's natural gas, whether it's offshore gas, whether it's in Queensland or whether it's in Victoria, what the costs of production are, to have a government thinking that they can set those prices is incomprehensible. And as I say, the investment shock that is going to cause for companies who are contemplating going out there and spending those hundreds of millions or billions of dollars, it is beyond belief that a government would think that they could manage a market which for so long has been based on commercial principles.
But the government has also said it will consult with the industry for the next couple of months about this, and it's not going to be introduced for another 12 months. So it's not like you're not going to have some chance to discuss it.
Well, we've seen a taste of consultation 2 days. We had CEOs meet with the Prime Minister today, and I wasn't at that meeting, but I understand the Prime Minister basically started by saying, well, I've got the numbers and this will go through. If that's consultation, then I think what we're going to see is more of the same, and the industry now has no confidence that what we're saying is being heard, and that is that this is an incredibly complex issue. Putting a price on gas will have no impact on the price of electricity going forward, and in fact will lead to gas shortages, which in 5 and 10 years' time will force the price of electricity up, just as we're trying to manage the transition away from fossil fuels into renewable energy, where gas will play an absolutely critical role in firming up that electricity and preventing blackouts.
So if you are talking about confidence in the market, what should we make of the fact that gas producers like Woodside and Shell are now simply walking away from a formal agreement with the government that's only a couple of months old to supply gas to the East Coast market and are suspending negotiations with gas users over new contracts? I mean, that's not exactly a great way of instilling confidence either, is it?
Well, that's not the correct analysis of what's happening. We are now in a situation, the gas industry in Australia, that if we sign contracts this week, they could be non-conforming next week. We've actually got to wait and see what the rules are. We're not walking away from the market. I mean, we're there, we've made the investments, we will supply the gas, and there is not a shortage of gas, Laura. Let's get that right on the table right from the start. There is plenty of gas in the domestic market for domestic suppliers. This is an issue about price, and this is an issue where we're seeing the domestic market return gas producers a quarter of what they could earn on the international market. And they're not my figures, they're Credit Suisse figures, where the international netback price is over $50 a gigajoule. So we will be there and we will supply the gas, but we need to know what the rules are.
Well, if we could turn just briefly to coal, which will be a matter for the states. The vast majority of coal used to generate electricity in New South Wales and all the coal used to generate power in Queensland is already contracted below the proposed cap of $125 a tonne. How likely is it that prices might rise above that cap and trigger some compensation claims?
Well, in Queensland, they're mine mouth power stations. That is, they're right on the mine in the vast majority of cases, with one or two exceptions, and will continue to operate well under the cap. So the cap will have no purpose and no effect other than, as I say again, a signal to the international market that we have a government who is prepared to intervene in the normal commercial arrangements of the energy system in Eastern Australia. Now, it might be very popular in the short term, but in 5 years' time, when gas and coal isn't being produced because investors aren't there to continue with the production of coal, there is only one consequence, and that is power prices will go up and there'll be blackouts.
Thanks for your time tonight.
Always a pleasure, Laura.